So if you've ever stopped to think about how an entire outfit can, you know, cost less than a lunch salad.
Which seems almost impossible.
Right. Or if you've seen one of those viral clothing hauls that looks like it needed its own shipping container, you've definitely encountered the subject of today's deep dive. SHEIN.
Yep.
We are really zeroing in on what is, well, maybe the single most disruptive force in modern global retail. We're looking at its rise not just as some clothing success story, but as a really powerful, real-world business case study.
Absolutely.
We're not here to just talk about cheap clothes. We're going to dissect a pretty radical operational model.
That's right. Our mission today is pretty clear. We need to understand the strategic power behind what's called ultra-fast fashion, digital growth, and just extreme cost leadership.
But also the risks, right?
Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
we have to look at all of that through the lens of the very serious ethical and regulatory risks that are, just inherent in that kind of explosive speed.
Okay, so for context.
For context, SHEIN started in China back in 2008. Since then, they've just perfected this direct-to-consumer model. It's now a digital-only platform, and it sells globally across more than 150 countries. The sheer speed of their growth is, well, it's unprecedented.
Okay, so let's unpack this. How in the world did they achieve that scale so quickly? And what is the strategic tension, the fundamental contradiction that sits right at the heart of their entire operational model?
Well, it all starts with the engine. Ultra-fast fashion. And we really need to define this term because it's fundamentally different from traditional fast fashion, like a Zara or an H&M.
Different how?
The core mechanism is speed, and I mean compression of the design-to-customer cycle into days, not weeks or months.
Days. That timeline it completely upends the traditional fashion calendar, which is usually planned seasons in advance.
It totally does. It enables them to design, produce, and list thousands of new products online every single week.
Thousands a week.
Yeah. I mean, think about the classic retail model where you place a huge order months out and just hope it sells. This is the complete inverse. It lets them respond to these little micro trends almost instantly.
So if a certain style or, I don't know, a color starts blowing up on TikTok this afternoon.
Exactly. SHEIN can have a product that mirrors that trend available across the globe, often within a week.
And this is where the business model gets so fascinating, because that speed isn't just about, demanding quick work from suppliers. It's powered by a really sophisticated data strategy. This is the aha moment. It's the inversion of the risk model.
Right.
How does that data actually translate into a physical garment arriving at someone's door?
It's a continuous, real-time feedback loop. SHEIN is constantly monitoring real-time data from every possible angle.
Like what kind of data?
Website browsing history, search behavior, social media engagement across all the platforms. It's not just sales. It's about tracking intent and interest.
Ah, so they see what you're looking at, not just what you're buying.
Precisely. They use all of that granular information to gauge demand almost preemptively.
So they aren't guessing. They're scientifically mapping out what people want.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like in practice? Are they A/B testing hemlines or entire product categories?
Both. They approach product development like a venture capitalist would approach startups. It's a highly diversified portfolio with a very small initial investment.
Meaning, well, what a small production run.
A very small run. They produce only small trial batches of a new product, sometimes as few as, say, 100 or 150 units.
Okay.
If that item does well, so it sells quickly, it gets good reviews, drives engagement, they hit the gas and scale production up rapidly. If it fails,
They just kill it.
they kill it. It's discontinued just as fast.
So the strategic insight here is that they prove demand can be sort of manufactured and tested online before they commit any significant physical capital.
That's radical. It is.
And what's the ultimate business result of a system like that?
The main result is a dramatic, and I mean dramatic, reduction in inventory risk. That's the thing that has historically killed fashion retailers.
Right. Getting stuck with a warehouse full of last season's clothes.
Exactly. They aren't sitting on millions of units of clothes nobody wants. This process lets production match demand so tightly, which optimizes their capital and minimizes waste, at least in that initial manufacturing stage. They only make what they know they can sell.
That kind of efficiency in design and forecasting, it has to be mirrored by their physical structure. That speed doesn't come for free. So how do they physically manufacture at that scale and at that price point?
That takes us right into their supply chain strategy, which is this highly decentralized manufacturing network.
Okay.
We're talking about thousands of independent suppliers, mostly clustered in the manufacturing hubs of China, and they're all integrated through SHEIN's digital platform.
That sounds less like a traditional supply chain and more like a massive distributed marketplace that they just happen to control.
That's a perfect way to describe it. And they mandate extremely strict targets for these suppliers: speed, cost, and volume. This decentralized, high-pressure structure is what gives them their immense pricing power.
So it guarantees the low costs and the fast turnaround.
Exactly, and the huge product variety.
Okay, but wait. If the system is so perfect on paper for cost and speed, where's the friction? Doesn't decentralizing everything inherently create massive oversight issues?
That is the trade-off. And the critique here is relentless. Strategically, it's highly efficient, but you're right, decentralized systems are just inherently difficult to monitor.
And the problems are?
The critique is that this structure creates serious challenges around consistent quality control, but, far more importantly, ensuring ethical labor standards and proper supplier oversight. When the main directive is speed and extreme low cost, critics argue that this system puts immense strain on labor standards.
And that tension flows directly into their pricing model. The sources say they use aggressive penetration pricing to get into new markets.
Right, get in cheap.
And then cost-based pricing after that.
Absolutely. The products are sold at prices that are often far, far below their competitors, even other fast fashion brands. This strategy is just incredibly effective for attracting highly price-sensitive consumers, especially younger demographics who really prioritize novelty and low barriers to purchase.
For some, they just can't afford to shop anywhere else if they want constant new trends.
That's a big part of it.
And the sources are very clear on this. While that low pricing drives huge volume, it also reinforces those deep concerns about environmental sustainability and, of course, worker welfare. It's a paradox, right? The economics that you need to achieve a $5 dress seem fundamentally incompatible with, say, first-world environmental standards.
That is the central strategic tension of this whole case study. It's an economic model that is optimized for price, where governance and compliance are, well, they're seen by critics as external costs that threaten the entire structure.
So let's talk about how they capture the customer and scale globally. The digital platform. They've maximized data capture because they own the relationship, the storefront, everything, through their direct-to-consumer model.
That D2C model is the absolute key to their scale. By getting rid of physical stores and wholesale intermediaries, SHEIN eliminates massive fixed retail costs. We're talking rent, utilities, staffing,
Local taxes.
all of it. And that just accelerates their international expansion with minimal capital investment in property.
So they aren't just selling clothes, they're basically running a massive, zero-overhead market research operation. They cut out the cost of every middleman.
Including the physical window display. And the strategic advantage that gives them over a traditional retailer is control.
Complete control.
Total control. They capture all the consumer data directly, they control pricing globally, and they can scale across borders digitally without ever needing to sign a new retail lease. This lets them pour capital directly into digital marketing and logistics, making the model instantly scalable.
And their marketing strategy is, it's arguably one of the most brilliant executions of digital word of mouth we've ever seen. They don't rely on expensive traditional ads. It's pure viral amplification.
It's totally platform-native marketing. They rely heavily on digital marketing, mass influencer promotion through TikTok and Instagram, and the constant launch of haul videos.
Ah, the hauls.
Right. They incentivize users to generate massive amounts of content just by showing off their purchases, often driven by limited time offers and that immense variety.
This is where the customer becomes the promotional engine. And that kind of peer-driven validation is so effective, especially with younger shoppers. It sort of mirrors the growth strategies we see in ecosystems like Meta or TikTok itself, where engagement is the real product.
It creates a sense of peer discovery and, authenticity, even if the promotion is paid for. And the consequence of all this rapid input, the data, the cheap production, the viral marketing, is reflected in the product life cycle.
Which is astonishingly short.
It's one of the shortest in all of retail. An item might be available and then be replaced by a new version in just a few weeks.
So a constant churn.
An incredibly high product turnover.
Yeah.
This keeps a consumer constantly looking for the next new thing, and it drives really strong impulse buying behavior. It's planned product obsolescence built right into the heart of the business model.
So let's turn to the shadow that's hanging over all this incredible growth. the existential risk. On one hand, their digital-first internationalization is a masterclass in market entry. They became a global brand faster than almost any traditional retailer in history without building physical stores.
They completely optimized for speed and global logistics and local influence. They used centralized production, cross-border shipping, and supported it all with localized digital marketing teams and influencer ecosystems.
They built the digital network first.
Right. They built the global digital network first, then just filled it with product. They avoided the huge capital expense that slowed down every previous generation of retail expansion.
But the severe scrutiny they face is unavoidable. And this is where the strategic risk profile changes from, say, operational to existential.
Yeah, the sources highlight several key areas of really intense risk. Labor is probably number one. There are persistent concerns over labor conditions in supplier factories and specific allegations regarding the oversight of ethical sourcing.
And then there's the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, the very definition of ultra-fast fashion seems to run directly counter to climate goals.
Environmental waste and pollution are huge issues. We are talking about ultra-low durability clothing that's designed to be consumed and discarded quickly.
Right.
It encourages constant overconsumption. And then you have the carbon emissions from that really complex global shipping network they rely on. These issues generate intense scrutiny from regulators and NGOs all over the world.
And this exposes what you could call the governance gap. While SHEIN, like any major corporation, has announced CSR initiatives, supplier auditing programs, recycling, sustainability promises, the question is, are those measures even sufficient when you compare them to the sheer scale and speed of the production system they created?
This is the core conflict. When a company is optimized for profit-driven hypergrowth, governance, especially environmental and social responsibility, it just struggles to keep pace. The critics argue that the investments needed to truly fix the environmental and labor issues would fundamentally destabilize the pricing advantage they rely on.
And from a risk management perspective, that lack of governance translates into real financial and regulatory threats. It could jeopardize their profitability. Right now, the model looks incredibly profitable, low margin, high volume data forecasting.
But just imagine a scenario where rising environmental legislation forces them to internalize the true cost of disposal or emissions.
Their costs would skyrocket.
Or if they're forced to adhere to really stringent labor and reporting standards, or if key markets impose regulatory bans based on ethical concerns. Their operational costs rise dramatically.
And if their operational costs rise, their pricing advantage, the cornerstone of their entire success, it starts to erode.
Exactly. They face potential regulatory bans, legal challenges on labor practices, and the fundamental threat of supply chain disruption if suppliers can no longer meet those impossible speed and cost targets while also sticking to increasing compliance demands.
Not to mention just changing attitudes from consumers.
Right. Shifting consumer attitudes towards sustainability are also a major long-term threat.
So after all this, what does it all mean? We've looked at SHEIN as the ultimate case study, demonstrating this explosive growth fueled by platform retail, data-driven forecasting, and ultra-low costs. They've proved that digital companies can scale globally faster than any previous model.
I think the central strategic lesson for any business listening is this. Digital platforms, when they're powered by data and these ultra-low-cost structures, they just redefine speed and scale. But, and this is a huge but, when that explosive growth outpaces corporate governance and social responsibility.
When you fail to internalize the ethical costs.
Exactly. The reputational and regulatory threats can quickly become existential risks. The model works perfectly until it hits the wall of global compliance.
It's a fascinating paradox, really. The very speed that drives their success is also the thing that makes ethical oversight nearly impossible.
The critical question for the future of global retail is whether this business model is inherently sustainable, or if its success actually depends on maintaining a structural gap in ethical compliance.
So the final thought for you to consider is this. If SHEIN were forced to internalize the full cost of sustainability and labor, could they still survive? If the answer is no, then what does that say about the long-term viability of every other digitally native hypergrowth company that optimizes solely for speed and price? That really is the core challenge facing the future of ultra-fast fashion and global e-commerce.